So, ladies and gentlemen, this interview is brought to you by Burn Up Coaching and the 21-Day Challenge. And if you are an entrepreneur or a high achiever and you're looking to reignite yourself, you feel like you've been plateaued, stuck, spinning your wheels, and you just aren't getting the momentum that you know you're capable of getting, or the fulfillment, the joy, the happiness, it's time to reignite and accomplish your top goal in 21 days. What does that look like? Over 21 days, me and you are going to be working on your single-minded focus, one target, one goal, 21 days. And at the end of the 21 days, you will achieve your goal. As long as you put in the work and do what you say you're going to do, we're going to create a plan, have you execute with crystal clarity, power, daily check-ins, weekly deep dive calls to make sure that you are uncovering the sabotaging, limiting beliefs that are keeping you stuck so that you can succeed like never before. And if you're interested in that, warning, this is not for everyone. It is totally intense and will probably scare a lot of people. But if that is you, if you are looking for that intensity, if you're ready to take that next big leap, 21-Day Challenge might be a great fit for you. So if you're interested, send me an email or a message and let me know you're interested, and I will send you an intake form and see if it's a good fit. Hope you have the best day ever, and let's get you on your next 21-Day Challenge. Now for the iTunes review of the week, it was left by Unlimited Beliefs, and Unlimited Beliefs said, helpful, usable content. I really like this show. The content is so helpful because it's told through the story of the guest, which is relatable, and it's easy to plug in and use, as well as inspiring along the way. Tune in. Thank you so much, Unlimited Beliefs. And if you listening or watching want to give us a review, go to beyourgps.com/iTunes, and you can leave us a review there, or so you can search Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self on iTunes, and it will come up. Good or good? Very good. So that's how you can leave us a review. And thank you in advance for doing that. We appreciate the feedback and being able to grow and become our greatest possible self. Now, for the man and woman of the hour. After building an offline community in Ottawa, Ontario, David Pare and Christina Miller knew they could be making a much bigger impact on the world. This led them into the world of marketing, and with coaches and speakers surrounding them, David and Christina decided to learn the art of helping them grow their businesses online by building out their marketing systems for them. From trial and error, David and Christina learned the art of what to do and what not to do when building your coaching business. They have now built a method called Embodied Influencer Program to help rising coaches get to the next level of their coaching business, spread their message to the world, and create a life around what they love. And these two superstars are here to share their valuable wisdom with us. David and Christina, are you ready?
We are ready. Let's go.
You're ready. We are now live on Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self, baby. Thank you so much for joining us today to share your wisdom and your experience and your journey with our audience. We super appreciate you. Thank you.
Appreciate you having us on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we're diving right into the theme of the day, which today is recalibration. So let's start with David, okay? David, what does recalibration mean to you? This concept, how has it played an important role in your life? What difference has it made for you?
Powerful word, man. I think that recalibration has been like a core part of my entire life and career, actually. Like my first, I would say, leap into entrepreneurship when I was 17, I've had to recalibrate over and over and over again so I could shift in the next version of myself. So I'd say that recalibration has shown itself in every time that I've made a big leap, every time that I've made a big shift, and every time that I've chosen to lead a big life. And I think it's necessary. We're always growing, we're always evolving, and we're always becoming closer to the version of ourselves that we were meant to be. So if we're not willing to break apart those things that are holding us back, those layers that are on top of the things that are keeping us from the people we were meant to be, we're going to have to recalibrate so we can get there, man. So like over and over again, recalibration has been a huge part of my growing experience. And yeah, man, like good way to start because it's a big focus point of my life.
Juicy.
I've been recalibrating.
Juicy. Love it, David. Awesome share. And then Christina, how about you? How has recalibration played a part for you?
So I would say recalibration is very similar in the fact that I feel like it's in order for us to really align with our truest selves, we need to be able to recalibrate. And I find it really interesting because I've always considered my life kind of like a compass. and like giving myself a guide and to be like, where am I going to go? And recalibration is just about like really knowing that true north of like where you're going, and really aligning all of your actions to go in there. Because as David was saying, that we're always changing, we're always growing, and all those like little steps take us closer to our path. And as we recalibrate, we're adjusting ourselves to really step into the best version of ourselves. And I feel like for me, as I've been an entrepreneur since I was 15 as well, just knowing exactly, like, tuning into myself and recalibrating with my heart and my soul, knowing where is that leading me, where is that guiding me. And so I feel like that has been a big part of my own journey, is like really knowing where that's taking me and really aligning myself with my truest path. Because, you know, so often as entrepreneurs and as, you know, as we go through life, there's often times where we feel pulled towards different directions because of whatever is happening around us, maybe the peer pressure, maybe what our family's saying. And I think that sometimes those things can like kind of kick us off, you know, our path a little bit. Recalibrating allows us to really go towards the path, even if we are making decisions that may have not been at that point. We get to align ourselves better and make better choices and, you know, go towards that path. So I really like that word recalibration, because I think that's essentially what we're always doing in our life.
Amen. Amen. Yeah, and especially with, you know, the blueprint that you guys have created, you know, if you have a blueprint, you have to make sure that you're constantly following the blueprint. And in life, there's no like, hey, just set it and it's done. It's like, no, it's a design, it's a model, it's a mold, it's a, you know, prototype, it's a structure, whatever. And then we're constantly taking the next step to develop it, to fill it in, to take those actions to execute on the goal. So I love how we're starting with it. What was that?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was saying you 100%. I was just agreeing with you.
Just say I'd add on to that and say we always need to adjust the blueprint, because the blueprint can never be finished. It's always got to be remodeled and improved upon as we go and learn through our experience of life.
100%. Oh my gosh, that's gold. Love this conversation. We're diving in. So tell us a little bit more about the Embodied Influencer. I shared about it in the intro, but for anyone who doesn't know who you are yet, but they will, for anybody who doesn't know yet who you are, why don't you share a little bit more about yourselves?
Okay. I'll let the queen go ahead on this one first.
Awesome. So as we were saying, as Chris, as you mentioned in the beginning, well, we had an offline community called Young Pros. And Young Pros was filled with this amazing community of young entrepreneurs and people who were trying to be the best version of themselves, all working towards the same goal. And many of us, like ourselves and like you, felt like we had a message to share. Like, you know, ever since I was very young, I've always felt I had a very strong message to share with the world and wanted to bring that to a light to the world. Same thing with David. And it was always like this feeling of coming together and like all of us, you know, uniting to be like, okay, hey, like let's move towards that goal. But there was always this big block with coming online. It's like, okay, so how do we put ourselves online? How do we bring ourselves? And as me and David were continuing to build this community, we recognized that we really needed to expand, to go online and to really spread our light, because social media, I think it's such an incredible tool to connect with each other, to share your light, to share your community, to share your creativity. It's such a beautiful gift that we've been given. And by allowing us to go online, we can really expand and touch so many lives. And so we started to decide, like, how can we go online and start to bring these gifts that we have that are not just like, you know, social media for so long was just like boggled with like, you know, memes and like negative stuff and like people complaining, but like, how can we bring the light that we have in our lives and bring it online? And so David and I went off and started learning about marketing and started to learn about this. And what I really found, and the reason why it was called the Embodied Influencer, is because as we were working through people, it was like, you need to embody that part of you, the influence part of you, the part that is like making an impact in the world, here and online. Like, you have to show up online as your most authentic self. You can't hide things. If you really want to make an impact, you need just to show up as you are, because as you are is the perfect gift to be able to attract and relate to the right people. And so we started to recognize and realize this as we were working with some coaches, and we've had some really big wins. We had some really big failures from recognizing, from doing Facebook ads and doing funnels and all these things that we're told to do, but it's not necessarily the right thing if you don't have the key components of building an online brand, and which is building an influence. And that building that influence actually comes from, showing up authentically, really knowing who you're talking to, and having really solid value. And so that's essentially where this came from. It's like it's the experience of us coming online, wanting to share a message, and learning and failing, and then wanting to be able to help all the other people who have such a powerful message to share. And we want to help them also to be able to make that impact, to embody their truth and make that influence, create that community that we know is so powerful. And if each one of us can step into that light, and each one of us can own that, then we really feel that the world would just be a better place.
I couldn't have said it better myself, so I'm just going to leave it at that. That's the embodied influencer.
Beautiful. I love it. That was powerful. I'm curious on the term, embodied influencer. What does that mean? Like, what does embodied mean? What does influencer mean to you guys? And then combine, what does that really mean?
Yeah, well, embodied, I think, has been a big word for us.
Yeah.
In entrepreneurship and in business and in showing up, because the term embodied simply means the ability to act and sort of practice what you preach. So embodying, say if I was an athlete, to embody being an athlete, well, what do I got to do? I got to go out and actually play sports. Right. I have to go play soccer every day if I want to embody being a soccer player. Otherwise, I'm not going to be my body is not going to move if I get on the field with a bunch of professional soccer players and I haven't played soccer.
Right.
So the term embodiment is just like the person who is willing to actually put in the practice to be the person that they're saying they are. Right. It's much more than just, we don't want to work with people who just want to talk about it. We want to
read a book or
with people who are wanting to practice what they preach and truly make an impact in the world. So that's a really strong value that we follow, is like, we need to practice everything we preach.
Yeah.
And we won't say a word unless we know we've done it. So that's a big thing for us, and that's sort of where it came from. And maybe if you want to go on the influencer part.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So the thing is that when someone's embodied, the most powerful people online are the ones who are embodying their truth.
And offline.
They're the ones that are like, you see these people that you're like, you're making an influence. And an influencer, a lot of people have been using maybe as in just like the people who are using fashion brands and whatnot. But I feel like that is shifting and that's changing, because an influencer is someone who is just showing up as themselves and having an influence on the people around them. So they're using their experiences, they're using their expertise, they're using their opinions, their values to have an influence on the world around them. And they're creating these micro communities. And so an influencer is just someone who shows up powerfully in the truth and using it in a way to positively, we definitely just positively influence the people that are in their community online and to make a change in the world.
And it's very cool because it almost happens as a result.
Yes.
As a result of embodying your truth, you end up influencing the people around you. Right?
So effortless.
So they're so simultaneous, which is why we chose those words to come together.
Wow. That's beautiful. I love it. So you talked a little bit about the journey. I want to dive back into it a little bit more in terms of what were some of the challenges in getting to this company, to being and having the impact that you're having, developing the marketing. You mentioned some challenges with Facebook ads. What were some of those wisdom pieces that you learned, to not copy what other people are doing if those components are missing? And maybe that goes into kind of the blueprint that we're going to be talking about today. But I just want to go back into that journey about what you learned. What's some of the gold that was back there in that journey?
Got it. So do you mean the journey of growing the business?
Yeah, it can be growing the business, from conception to now, or if you wanted to go even farther back to your own personal journeys and the goal that you learned along the way there, whichever you feel is more relevant right now for this blueprint.
The blueprint, it would be what we learned, especially working with experts. You want to share on that?
What part are you referring to?
About how it's really important. So one of the things about being an embodied influencer is embodying the truth, is that one of the biggest lessons that we learned is you have to work with people who are embodying that they can make that difference, and the experts. Because we were working with people during this journey that had really good intentions, but not necessarily, they were still, just as much as we were just learning. And the thing is about learning, it's a really beautiful way to get experience. But we found that throughout our journey, when we're trying to get results for people and learning this, that we really needed to work with experts in their field and work with, like, even with us. Like, it was sometimes, like, one of the biggest lessons was that we were doing things that we were interested in, and things that were, like, you know, that we had some knowledge in, but weren't necessarily experts in. And that came and bit us in the ass a little bit. And it was one of the things that we learned, that you can't be everything. You can't be everything in your business, and you have to take it one step at a time.
And what we found is whenever we weren't focusing on our zone of genius, like things that we were naturally good at and naturally passionate about, that things like went to shit. Like if we were trying to be all things to all people, things fucked up. And it wasn't, the more we started to embody who we were and do the things that we love to do, and then find other people to do the things that we didn't love to do, who were great at what they did, the more that we started to see exponential success. It was like the universe rewarded us for being ourselves and gave us resistance every time we chose to be someone else.
Man.
Another lesson I would say that was really big, that actually led us into what led us into the influencer blueprint is assuming that because someone had an established business offline, that they could easily go online. That was one thing that we had like a large amount of problems with, is working with people who were like, yeah, they were super successful offline, but going online was actually so different. And like, we end up losing money with our clients, and we were so confused, and like, why is this not working? And it wasn't there was anything wrong with the product or anything wrong with like us. It was specifically that going online is a different ball game, and it requires different things. And the reason why, what was birthed the influencer blueprint.
Wow. Beautiful. Beautiful. So I'm sure at some level there's understanding what is your gift, what is your genius designed into this blueprint. So let's start getting into like the pillars or the, components of the blueprint that make it happen. And let's just like cover those and teach our audience a little bit more about how we can start owning our own blueprint and being better influencers.
Yeah, wonderful. You're smiling away here like you want to take the lead on this.
Oh my God. So I'm going to share a quick story about the influencer blueprint, because David has helped me so much to develop this, but this came through a series of me writing all over my window. So I was sitting in our bedroom.
Sorcerer's Inner was coming out.
I love it.
I was like, okay, we're trying to help our clients, and I can see that there's like, we're right there, but we're missing some stuff. And so I'm writing all over the windows, and I'm like, you know what? I need some space. Some space. And we were living in Koh Lanta, which is an island off of Thailand at the time. Wow. And I went to the beach, and God bless the fact that I'm location independent.
Which was a whole other series of challenges, by the way. Building this whole thing while traveling to different countries all across Asia over the past year was wild.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
But the beauty of it, I went to the beach, and I'm sitting there, and essentially I'm sitting and I'm like, okay, so like, what is it that we're missing? And it was like this strike of lightning that came, and it's an influencer blueprint. And I was looking, I was like, what is that? And I started writing in my little book. And the more that I thought about it, the more that I was like, wow, this is actually really, really powerful. And I went home, and I started writing all over the windows again, like basically putting the dots together. And he comes downstairs, and he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, babe, this is the answer. This is the influencer blueprint. It's going to be perfect. And at the time, I had no idea what it was going to look like. It wasn't for months that we had the opportunity to help one of our clients pull together this influencer blueprint, that we recognize what it is. And to put it simply, and then maybe you can help me dive into this, we kind of designed it as a triangle, because everything, it's only 3 parts, and they touch each other so powerfully, and they create a ripple effect in each one of them. So it starts off with your story, because your story is the most powerful part of essentially of your system. You need to be able to have your story, because that is your gift. Right. And then it goes into the dream clients, and then it goes into your offer. And each one of those things touching each other creates a whole bunch of other different things. And David, if you want to dive into that.
Yeah, sure. Well, just to touch on that a little bit, where this came, like just what we were saying before, like where this came from and why we did it is because we recognized that a lot of the people that we were working with had a lot of foundational pieces that were missing. So they'd hire us to do all of the marketing, like jump on Facebook ads, jump on copywriting, jump on funnels. Yet because these foundational pieces weren't in place, the success wasn't had the way we wanted it to because this was missing. So like if you didn't have, like if you didn't really know the way you would connect to your audience, you would fail.
Yeah.
If you didn't really know who your audience was that you were talking to, you would fail. If you didn't really know what your offer was and what your customer knows it to be valuable, you would fail. And then they all come together. So if you didn't know how to communicate your product, your value to your customer, well, you're going to fail. If you didn't know how to tell your story in a way that connects to your customer and shows them the value of how you learned what they need to help them succeed in their journey, well, you would fail. So we noticed all these things came together, and it was the missing piece that we had with a lot of our agency clients. So once we had this point down, we realized the amount of clarity and power that our clients started to have when moving online and how much more effortless it was when we went into any marketing. So on top of the influencer blueprint, what we do with our clients is after we have this laid out, that's when we, before we do anything, we have to get into this. After we do that, we can get into sales. We can get into building your online business. We can get into funnels. We can get into social media. But like without the core, it's like the heartbeat of your business. Without the heartbeat of your business, it cannot breathe. And that's what we found. We were suffocating businesses because there was no heart beating. Once we got that going and the oxygen was rolling through, we noticed the life being put into the coaching businesses around us.
Beautiful, beautiful. So I hear the story, the getting who the dream clients are, and then getting the offer nailed down, and then that gets the heart beating again. Yeah, good. Triangle.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so the triangle, and the thing is that the triangle doesn't only add. So like the one thing that I want to add about the triangle and about why it's really important is because your story and your clients create your community. So that, like, a lot of people talk about, it's like, well, okay, so like, what else can I do this? It's like your story and your clients create your community. Your clients and your offer creates a transformation. And then also your story and your offer then creates your USP, so your messaging. So as you can see, these three things all cover so many different aspects of the business. So it's not just like individually, but together they add a lot of value. So once someone has, and we can touch points into each one of them if you want, so we can explain how they kind of impact your business.
Yeah, I'd love to. Let's dive deep.
So essentially, what you have at the beginning is the story, and usually the story happens as, it doesn't have to be a traumatic experience, but it does have to be
a turning point.
Yes, it's like a transformational turning point. Something in your life usually happens, we usually tell people to start 6 months to a year before they have.
The point is very important because we have many turning points. We have turning points over and over again where we have to recalibrate right on our journey. The question is, where are the clients that you're talking to or want to talk to, because you want to find a journey where your turning point that could connect.
Yes, exactly. It has to be relevant to them. So the story has to be relevant to them. So for example, if you're a woman coach and you're teaching them about leadership, you pick a story that specifically relates to the leadership.
Yeah.
And generally speaking, you go 6 months before your big turning point, because you need to talk about the pains, the challenges, the experiences that you had before you had your big turning point. What did your life look like? What were the challenges you were experiencing? What were the thoughts going through your head? Why did you want to change? Because usually about 6 months to a year before you have your turning point, you're already thinking about wanting to make a change. And that's usually what sets the universe into rolling, being like, okay, you want to change. Here's what we're going to do to support you. And so that story essentially is the nuggets in order to get your clients and also your offer. Because your story is one way you're also relating to your clients, being like, hey, I've been in your shoes. I know what it's like. Here's the story. Here's the experience. And that's like your special gift. No one else in the world is going to have that. And that's like you're combating against all the people that are online. And that actually is the key. So the cool thing about this, the influencer blueprint, is the key to each one is in each other. So the key now to going to your dream clients is also in your story. because the person that you are going to easily and effortlessly going to be able to help is the same person that's in your story. So you look for those, like so many people talk about ideal clients, like go look for the ideal clients, like look, what's the opportunity? And the truth is, it's the easiest way to be able to connect with those people, to be able to make an offer for them, is looking for the person that was in your story and identifying those traits and those needs that you had 6 months to a year before, and be like, how can I help that person get to where I am now?
Let me give you an example just to make it even more clear. So for us, before we did this, before we recognized the power of this, we were working with a lot of agency clients for a company, and it was great practice, and we got amazing experience, and we learned a bunch, and we still have it all running. Like, it's still business and it's still going on the side. But what we found is we couldn't embody the influence that we really wanted to have. And the reason why is because the people that we were working with didn't really connect with us as much as they could, because they didn't necessarily go on the same story as we did. They had much different stories than we, so we can like relate to them as much. So
to talk about
we became the service provider rather than the guide, and we knew that the best results came from being the guide, at least in the work that we wanted to do. Right. So we had to look back and say, wait, where were we before we understood online marketing, before we knew how to build an online business? We were at the point where we were rising up, where we had a dream to make happen, a life that we saw that we wanted to create. So that's when we had to recalibrate and look at our audience and say, all right, we need to work with the people that were in the same shoes as us.
Yeah.
And that was a powerful shift that allowed us to move into really building these blueprints in the Embodied Influencer Program for rising coaches. Yeah. So just to see it in action, what can happen when you look back at your own story. That's an example.
Yeah, it becomes so easy and effortless when you do it that way. Like, you don't have to try to do marketing. You don't have to try to write content. You just talk about it. It's like, I'm actually just going to be able to help you. And I think that brings a lot of pressure off coaches who feel like you have to create messaging, you have to create content. And it makes it easy to then solve the next thing of the influencer blueprint, which is your offer. And essentially how you create your offer is you look at the clients that you're serving and be like, how do I solve their problem? And then there's your offer. And then that goes back into your story. You see, so each one of them play into each other. And when you have, it's interesting, because if you maybe you don't have one perfected, if you go to the next one, you usually are able to figure it out. So it's like a cycle, and you can recalibrate as you're going, because it's going to take time.
That's the buzzword for tonight.
Yeah, you get to recalibrate as you try, because sometimes your program may not work. But with this process, with this blueprint, you essentially have it all down, and you can just work with it and work it over, and it becomes easy then. And then when you have all of these things in place and you start to go into ads when you have enough money and when you need to invest, that it becomes easy and effortless, because you're like, well, I know what my story is. I know I'm messaging to be. I know who I'm trying to target, and I know how I can help them. And that becomes like a huge weight off your shoulder. It just becomes easy to talk about.
Yeah. I'm curious. It is amazing. I'm curious in terms of what I'm hearing. It sounds like a lot of this is about if you are your ideal client, right? A year ago, 2 years ago, whatever, and you overcame the challenge, then you're able to speak to that person. If you're a coach coaching like that, I'm curious, does this model still work if it's someone who isn't necessarily you in the past, but let's say a young 30-year-old guy coaching 45 or 50-year-old women who are overweight? It's more of like a fitness coaching. Was there a turning point for that guy when he's 30 years old to coach the woman? And I'm just curious if this model still applies.
The model still applies. You just have to look in your story into reason why it happened. So like, I feel like whether it was like, maybe they had a family member, maybe they had something that happened in their life. They're like, you know what, I had an experience with a woman. It doesn't necessarily need to be you, but what was the turning point into the reason why you wanted to coach women in the first place? Yeah. Because like, there's got to be a reason into why you were doing it. And I think it's just about focusing on that. And so that's where it comes in. You need to make a story that's relevant. Yeah. So if you want to work with women and you're going to be working with women, you have to look for the story inside yourself, being like, what was the reason why?
Yeah, how are they going to relate to you?
Yeah.
Now, sometimes, however, on the same note, what we find is people who have these crazy niches that are way different than who they are end up shifting because of the challenge of speaking to people that are so much different than they are. But not to say it's not possible. We've seen people do it very successfully. But when there's no correlation and relevance between the guide and the person that they're serving, it is more challenging than if you had someone in the story that you had in the first place. So we see that a lot, where people will end up shifting and recalibrating to fit something that works easier for them.
Because I find that some people look for the ideal client as opportunities, and like, I should or I could. I talk to so many people who be like, I can help everybody. I'm like, yeah, you can, but should you be doing that? And do you want to be? You have to ask the question, who do you actually want to work with? And normally people feel guilty to be like, well, I can help these people, and this person came to me and I was helping them, so I can. I'm like, but that doesn't matter. Like, do you actually want to be working with that person? And it just so happens that most of the time we see it where the people that they want to be working are in their story, but there's very often that it can be someone that they really, really resonate with.
That's huge. We get caught up by opportunity big time. When someone says yes to our product or to our message or to who we are, we automatically assume that if that person says yes, all of a sudden we need to continue to work with that person and everyone like them. Yeah. And then another person comes, we say, okay, I need to work with this person too. And then another person comes, like, okay, I need to work with this person too. And what that leads to is a very scattered business model with no focus. And you end up trying to talk to so many different people with so many different messages and failing because you don't have a message that works for all of them. They're all hearing different messages and your focus is scattered. So although it may seem like, wow, there's more opportunity here, I should take it, it actually leads to less opportunity down the line because you can't connect to that particular person and audience the way that you could have if you had that market, and you can't create a culture behind it.
Yeah, wow, that's powerful. And this totally reminds me of, in the past, I was so like desperate and hungry for clients that I would take anyone, right? But that desperation and energy showed up in who I was attracting. I was attracting the people who were also desperate and like trying to figure out their freaking life, and everything was crashing down. I'm like, why am I attracting these people who like can't get their life together?
It happens so often. I see it all the time where it's like, we see it so many times where like we even have tried it with our clients and been like, we're attracting the wrong people. We're attracting people who are in the lowest lows. And we're like, wait a minute, this is not the person I want to be working with. And it's just about having that clarity of being like, I don't have to work with these people. I need to work with people that I can really serve powerfully.
Yeah, and I found like there was a lot of self-worth work that I did, like really loving myself, nurturing myself, and I saw these patterns of the past, thinking my dad was like bigger and stronger than me, so I wanted to, I thought who I was this small kid, and small little teenager, and my dad was so much stronger than me, so I could never really take on a challenge like, oh, my dad's too big, I'm afraid, I'm intimidated. So that showed up in everywhere in my life, and I didn't want to take on a challenge in terms of someone who's like powerful and dominant and go-getter, drives, and a salesperson, like they go and attack their goals, and I stayed away. I stayed clear of those, and I attracted a lot of older women who were going through that like divorce or separation, and they felt like they were looking for something to cling on to, something to latch onto. And I'm like, that's not fulfilling, Chris. Stop it.
I'm curious, how did you move through that for yourself?
Yeah. So I started doing mirror work, like just saying how proud I am of myself. My girlfriend, who I'm with now, is amazing. She's just like so empowering, just always reminding me about who I am and what I'm capable of. And like she's like, dude, you are the message for the next generation. Like you're like 27 years old. Like you can reach them. The people who are 50 years old, 60 years old, they can't reach them. The young generation can't relate to them because there's social media and all these things, all these technologies now that that, you know, those people didn't have. And so it's like, just, I'm saying, wow, you know, these young, fired up people, 25-year-old who are influencers, who are committed to influencing the world. Like, that's my passionate people who I want to hang around. You know, I think we were talking earlier about, who do you think you're supposed to hang around? Like what does the marketplace say I'm supposed to, you know, who I'm supposed to be working with? Oh, people who want to double their revenue, blah, 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 blah. It's like, no, you know, like, find what inspires you, who you want to work with. I love technology. So people who are into, you know, augmented reality and stuff like that, I want to have conversations about that. I love spirituality. So
have some chats about that.
Yes. people who are into spirituality, you know, I want to talk to awakened people, not people who are just finding out about Think and Grow Rich. No, thank you. So that's just my own evolution to be attracting those people. And then also just recognizing that. Well, yes, augmented reality. We're developing a personal development gamifying life, so that we can like level up and play the game of life.
Awesome.
Yes.
I'm down.
Yes.
I'm a previous gamer. I was a gamer girl. I was one of like the first girls on Xbox Live.
Yes.
And mentorship and personal development, augmented and virtual reality. That's cool that you're tapping into that.
Yeah. And we can
really
see
cool. We've had a lot of conversations
about this own embodiment, because we're saying that, like, you know what, if you can create augmented reality and embody experiences, oh my God, you can upgrade people like so much faster.
Literally without moving.
Yeah, it's just amazing. It's amazing what you can do. So I'm in on that.
Yes. Ooh, juicy. You know, that personal work, that self-work. I'm curious, let's talk about you two. What self-work have you done to become the embodied influencers for yourselves, for each other, for, you know, the people around you? Let's dive into that and share what kind of resources or strategies you've done. Well, do we have? Yeah.
Wow.
So whatever you think is like a go-to or has really made a difference and shifted you, up-leveled you.
For me, my biggest go-to, so we don't take hours talking about all the work that we had to do. For me, my go-to more than anything is to listen to the body. More than anything, our body knows when we are experiencing tension or anxiety. And that's like the surface level. Our body also knows where we should be moving to. Our body knows the direction we should be going.
Wow.
Our body knows if this is the right move for us to take. Our body knows if we should be more loving in this situation, if we should surrender in this situation, if we should take charge and step up in this situation. So the more we tune our ability to listen to our body, the more we could move through life with ease. And that's what I found. I found pain and tension in areas of my body from childhood that I've been holding on to through so many different experiences. But learning the art of subtle listening into my body has made me recognize, one, how much, who I am now, but two, how intelligent my body is, right? So much more than my mind. I love my mind. I love its genius. I love the mechanics of it and how I can figure shit out. But it's when I silence the mind and tune the body that the real genius and the real magic comes out.
Wow.
So for me, I think that's been the biggest lesson of personal work. And what's interesting about this journey is this was something that was never learned in a book. And it was never learned from a personal development conference. Except for books like this, like New Self, New World, which is all about tuning into the body. Juicy. I highly recommend it, by a gentleman named Philip Shepard. And he talks all about embodiment work, which is correlated directly to the work we're doing with marketing. But that's been my biggest thing, man. It's like, it feels like it's not talked about enough, but it's been the most transformational work that I've done.
And me and you have dived a lot into it over the time that we've been dating. Which has been really cool for our relationship.
I would touch on that and say, second, the biggest thing, if you really want to get your personal transformation and face your shit, is find a conscious partner who will hold you to your standard that you are set to.
Amen. Amen.
Whoa.
We've been only been dating for about a year and a half on Sunday.
That's awesome.
We've been together for about 3 years now.
3 years,
We were business partners before this, best friends, and this has been one of the biggest experiences for me to learn really about myself and to really dive deep, especially between the feminine and masculine, surrendering.
Amen.
And really learning about ourselves, because whenever we get triggered, and we do get triggered a lot, it's really about how do I own that responsibility and how am I showing up. And I think that's one of the biggest things about a relationship, is not putting the blame on another person, and really owning up to ourselves and be like, how can I show up with love? And sometimes it's really hard. We have been triggered in some of the deepest parts of our wounds. Like, no kidding. Like, I think this has definitely been the hardest but most incredible relationship I've had, because it triggers me in all the ways that I definitely wouldn't have expected, but it allows me to dive deeper into myself. And for me, though, the biggest thing it is very similar to listening to the body, but for me, it's like listening to your heart and soul, if I can explain that, and like listening to your energy within your body. So since I was very young, I've been able to tune into something different. I've been tuning, whether you call it the source, universe, God, and tuning into that has allowed me to really follow anything that needs to get me through it. I've been through some really challenging experiences when I was a kid, and the only way I was able to make it through it is like really tapping into something deeper, tapping into my body and surrendering, and tapping into a higher source, higher consciousness, whatever that is, and knowing that I'm going to be taken care of. And I didn't, I just got into the personal development industry, like just doing this stuff.
She was doing it unconsciously, though. Yeah,
I was doing it unconsciously. I was doing it through connecting, I say God. I was connecting to God, and I was going through some really, really hard experiences. And I think that anybody is able to do it if they tap into something and trust that everything you need is already here, that there is something that is guiding you. And your body has so much to offer you when you let go of the mind and when you connect to it. It's like for me, I know it's not the same for everybody. For me, it's like a voice. It's like a voice that I like when I ask a question and I drop into my body. It's like I hear the answers, and I feel the magic around me. Like and David knows this. I tap into magic, and what I mean by magic, I just mean like the experience of life that happens all around us, within us, the experience that we have with interrelationship with ourselves, with the world. Like it's like when you are standing in a forest, that's when you're in a complete silence and you feel the beauty of life, just like a weight. It's not like a heavy weight, but the weight around you, I would consider that magic. Or the experience that you have when you look at your partner's eyes and you just feel like the time stops around you, that's magic. Or when you come in complete alignment of something is coming, everything that you need in order to make something happen, that would be magic. And I think that's only tapped into by listening to the voice and by allowing your body to really guide you.
Damn.
Yeah, we go really deep, really fast.
I love it. That's awesome.
From marketing to God and tapping into the body.
I do not call myself a marketer ever, because marketing is just something I do to help empower people. But it's I really believe I'm like we talked about this, about me being a guide.
Like a goddess warrior, sorry. She's like, I'm a goddess warrior, queen, sorceress, princess.
Love it.
I feel like, guys, I'm a bridge. I'm a bridge between, and I want to be a bridge to guide people from the spirituality and to business, and business to spirituality. Because I feel like because I was, younger and an entrepreneur, but also, I grew up believing in magic and stuff like that. And so I have both of those. And I feel like it's been the greatest gift for me to have personal development, and I want to guide people through that.
Beautiful.
So juicy. I love it. So in terms of the impact that you guys are creating, the embodied influencer community, what do you see that happening with that as it evolves, as it flourishes, as it grows?
I'd love to take the
lead
on this, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
As you know, man, our world's changing.
Yep. And
a lot of people are evolving at this time right now. And I think the most important thing for us to do is create micro communities around the world. And by micro communities, we need people like you, people like us that are stepping into their power and influencing small groups or large groups, but not maybe large in comparison to the 9 billion people in the world, but large in the sense of thousands. Because if we as individuals can do that to thousands of people, well, thousands of people start doing that, and now you're impacting the world. So the reason really why we wanted to do Embodied Influencer was, one, we had a message that we had to share, and two, we wanted to build a platform where others can share it too. Because if we can all step in our power, if we can all step in our light and start to create influence, positive influence amongst the communities around us, local communities, and then communities around us online, then we can start to exponentially increase the speed of the evolution that's happening on Earth right now.
Yeah.
So
what else I hear real quick is the micro community. The micro community is the aspect of, hey, I'm going to do what I can with what I've got. And I know I have a voice. I know I can make a difference. Let's start putting, like, it's like the mastermind principle, putting that to work too, you know, like being able to group together people who have similar values. And as the vision expands and there's more unity, the force becomes stronger. We attract other strong forces. And then that force comes together, that powerful energy. And then that attracts other, you know, groups of like 100 people, boom. And then now it's 200. And then we attract another group of like 1,000 people, boom. And then it just keeps growing and growing to make the impact, to make the transformation, to awaken the communities in the world as we share the information, share the transformation.
Said it powerfully, man. Yeah, things are spreading like wildfire right now. And like, it's for those like us who are at the edge of reality, who get to embark on the fun and the joy of being at the edge of reality, of moving this wildfire forward. And it's like, we can't do it alone. We'll never be able to do it alone. No. And it's going to happen with or without us. So if we can't do it alone and it's going to happen with or without us, we might as well jump along for the fucking ride.
Like being able to do events around the world. I really envision getting this in front of every influencer's hand. Like this is such an easy process. I'm like, I want every influencer to have this, because if we do it, and it starts to impact, and other people are going to do it. And the beauty of the micro communities, we can have you can be part of like 10 micro communities. Yeah. Like it doesn't need to be just one of us. It can be all of us who are shining that light and, just making that impact. And like,
it should be common knowledge.
Yeah.
Like every person who wants to make an impact in the world should have this bluept in their hands. Like, here's how to do it. Simple. Okay, I want to make an impact. Here's you got it. Fantastic.
Yeah.
I know you were saying something earlier.
Yeah. I was going to say, what you just said right now, it's like having the owner's manual to life. You know, I keep talking about this. It keeps coming up in my head. I don't know why. It must be something I'm being called to do. But, you know, like, we're not given that owner's manual like we're given with our car or whatever, you know, like we're not given it for life, but if we're given it for making influence, making an impact, being that embodied influencer, and that becomes the standard, that information is readily available, people know that is out there, at least for them. You know, they're given the choice. That's our focus right now for greatest possible self, is not that everyone has to be their greatest possible self, so to speak, but at least that they have the choice. They have the choice to the technology, to the platform, to the resources, to the people, to the community. And that's the biggest focus right now, because we can't force people to go be an embodied influencer. We can't force people to go be their greatest possible self, but by simply extending the offer and letting them know, hey, it's right here. If you want it, come get it. If not, all good. So that's one thing I wanted to mention that. And then also about the if it's going to happen either way, so I might as well make a positive contribution to it. There's a lot of conversation about technology and AI, like going the wrong way. And I'm like, okay, well, if that's a possibility, which, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen anyways, then why don't I be in charge of championing and leading the charge in the direction of technology and AI that helps people, that if I, at the source of it, am a, person in integrity, in love, and operating out of the greatness of the whole world, why don't I champion that cause and at least the best leader that we can possibly put in charge, if I'm coming humbly, if I'm in charge of it, then it'll have the best chance of success. So I wanted to share that because that's so important.
We can't step away from the future from fear. We got to step into with love. Yes. And the thing is that if we combine what we believe in and we step forward and look, it's never going to go backwards. Like, we're not going back there, so we might as well go forward. We might as well do it with love. We might as well embrace the gift of our human intelligence and say, wow, what can we create here? What beautiful things can help support us? And I really am excited because I think that with AI, it's going to eliminate the need for us to do all these other little jobs, and it's going to allow us to just be creators. And I think that people are more scared of that than anything. But the power that the freedom of being able to, like, you just have to create, like, I'm getting chills. I'm just like, what is the possibilities of us, like, being able to just create and have that freedom and not have to have that, like,
what we were meant to
stress
be.
and like, and to just be beautiful, brilliant human beings that can just, like, love each other and create. Like, what? That sounds amazing. If you don't know what you want, like, if you just and people can just create because they want to create, whether that means being an artist, whether that means cooking food, whether that means working with wood, whether that means impacting people. Like, it doesn't change what we are capable of and what we can do. It just gives us freedom to choose, that we don't have to rely on these jobs that are making people really unhappy. That AI can really enhance the way that humans are right now. And I see a beautiful future. And I choose to tap into that. And because I'm choosing to tap into that, that's going to show up more often.
Heck yeah.
Amen. I really like what you said there, Chris, about how, why not? Like, if you have the ability to do it and you know that you're going to show up in integrity and in your greatest value, why don't you take responsibility for that? It's such a powerful decision. It's like, as human beings, we are responsible. We are responsible to take care of ourselves, to love ourselves, to give ourselves the well-being that we need. We're responsible for our communities, and we're responsible for the world. And, like, that's a hard pill to swallow with all the pain that our world is experiencing and all the suffering that is going on. But we are responsible for it all. And in that, we get to choose to step forward. Like, we get to, not we have to, but we get to.
And we don't have to do it alone. Like, we're not alone. Yes, it's hard. Yes, life is difficult. I'm reading a book right now about Japanese culture, about how they talk about the melancholy of life. Like, life is hard, but there's beauty in the fact that it's hard. There's beauty in the fact that, like, it's not the easiest thing in the world, and you get to love the imperfections of it. And it's like, why don't we just accept the fact that it's not perfect all the time? But there's beauty in that. I love the range of emotions, and I love what you saying about, like, leading this, like, stepping into that leadership. It's just like, it's gonna happen. So let's just step into it.
Do you know Jordan Peterson?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Well, he said something really cool where he a lot of his teachings and a lot of what he teaches his clients, he bases in his book as well. He bases his teachings off of a place that life is actually at the beginning extremely hard. Like, there's suffering everywhere. Life's difficult. Life's challenging. And he bases everything from that standpoint. And if we look at that standpoint, it could look very depressing and very sad until you recognize that, yes, life is extremely difficult, but human beings are extremely capable. In fact, way more capable than we think to rise above any possible difficulty that life could throw at us. And that's like, well, shit, there's a hard life, but if we are capable, more than capable, to rise above it, then that's a pretty freeing feeling.
It's pretty exciting too. It's like a hero's journey.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I love it. And what I also love is the era that we're in, being able to choose to be creators, choose our reality, choose what is meaningful and significant and important to us. And if we choose to focus on the grind, then we will choose to focus on attracting more of the grind. But if we choose to understand that life is this balance, life is this duality, life is this, both the yin and the yang, but yet life is this journey, this adventure, and we just take everything with open arms and allowing and just fun and, like, anticipation, like a kid, like they get into that pain, into that trauma, and then boom, they're right back out there playing. the kid doesn't know how to make sure that they're healed, how to make sure that they're, okay, I'm completely free of that. They get back into it, but there might be some stuff that's left there if they're not properly educated on how to release the trauma. The parents might get mad at them for doing something stupid, and they carry that with them for the rest of their life. But luckily, we're becoming more awakened about what it's like to process that trauma, for adults and kids, so that we're setting up our next generations for success and fulfillment and love.
Yeah. I like how you say life is an adventure. I really believe that it's true that life is an adventure, and that even the hard, I'm sorry, we have a cat here that's just like jumping all over.
He's experiencing the adventure of life.
He is in it.
He's into the adventure.
He is in the adventure, for sure.
Vibing.
Yeah, he's vibing. Exactly. we got to get on his frequency.
He's next level. Oh my god. But I love what you're talking about how, like, basically, oh my god, this cat. About the adventures, and about how, it's just part of the experience that we're gonna experience trauma, but that's part of the adventure. Yeah. Like, humans love to overcome shit. Like, we're the master of being like, we love heroes' journeys. Like, we literally, our entire life are built around myths. Yeah. And we talk about this, Carl Jung talks about this, right? About how everything is a myth. And essentially, so, like, if our lives weren't, we would not feel the fulfillment that we do. So we might as well, like, embrace it.
Embrace the adventure, embrace the journey. Love it, love it, love it. All right, so we are beginning to wrap up. Christina and David, you are on fire. I love it. I love it. This is amazing. A great conversation, and I'm excited. This is like just the beginning of our impact, of our journey, of our legacy, of our adventure. So I'm stoked for the years and years ahead of us that we can grow and share together and play together and have lots of fun. So super stoked for that, and love together. Spread that love in the world. I see you feeling it over there, Christina. I was like, oh yeah, definitely. We're gonna love the world together too.
I love it.
Spread it.
It's
Spread
exciting. I love having interviews and talking to people. Like, I remember, Chris, when we first talked, it was such a great conversation. So I know that that's just going to keep on continuing.
Yeah, Christina was lit after that. He was like, that guy is on fire. I'm like, yeah, now I feel it.
Love it. So we're wrapping it up, and the blueprint, the influencer blueprint. Let's take it home. What people need to know. Let's invite them into the embodied influencer paradigm and reality, and then we'll go from there and share how people can stay connected with you and what do we want them to do next. But first, recap embodied influencer blueprint.
Beautiful. So the premise behind the whole blueprint and the program is very, very simple. If you have a message to share, if you have an impact that you want to create on the planet, if you are looking to lead people through an experience that you've been through, then you need to know how to reach those people, how to communicate to them, and how to connect your story to them so that you could help them, so that you could enroll them in your business. Sorry, we have roommates here, and I think you never could go far. And so if that's you, then you need an influencer blueprint. You need your blueprint to your impact and your blueprint to your influence. And that's what we can help you with in the Embodied Influencer and in the Influencer. On top of that, once we have the core, everyone who we help, we start getting into helping them enroll new clients, helping them set up their social media so they can attract clients consistently, how to actually have conversations, powerful conversations. Like, so sales doesn't feel icky. A lot of people feel like bad when they do sales. I feel phenomenal when I do sales.
Heck yeah.
People get off the calls and they say thank you. It's because we're giving real value. And we want to show people that you can just give people value. You can just help people and just guide them to make an empowered decision to help them get to the next level of their life. Yeah. And we want to show people how to do that, because there's an art to it. And that's all included in the blueprint that we designed. And
it's a group program, so you get to be part of a community of others who are doing the same thing as you. So you don't have to feel like you're doing this alone. And it's not just knowledge. One thing that we really stress in embodied influence
embodiment, baby,
is we have embodiment, and that means taking action. Sorry, I'm just so distracted. Embodiment is part of taking action, and there's so many things out there telling you about ads, telling you about funnels, telling you what the next thing you do, but you've got to take action. And having people who are there beside you, who are holding you accountable, who are being part of the community, and who are giving you things that you can really start with that are not overwhelming is probably one of the best things you can do for yourself as a coach, because you just need to get out there. And there's just so many things that you're telling yourself that you have to do. So we're gonna help you, and we're gonna be your guides here and share our expertise and share your community, so that way you can get to the next level and start leveling up your impact and your income.
Let's go.
Juicy. I love it. I love it. So our audience, people listening, watching, whatever, replay, live, want to know how they can stay connected with you. What do we want them to do next?
Yeah, real simple. Go to www.embodiedinfluencer.com, and that is probably the easiest way to connect with us, to talk to us.
Cool.
You can always go and check out both of us on social media. So David Pare, my name on social media, and Christina Miller. We can include the links we already spoken to, and connect with us personally. We're always looking to connect with new people who are vibing at the same frequency as us. So connect with us 100%. And if you want to learn a little bit more, feel free to go to our website, book a call with us. Let's chat. Let's chat about your business, chat about your goals, chat about your vision, and see if we can help.
Yeah, we always like to have conversations with people. Because that's the best way for us to be able to help you. We like to give one-on-one attention. So if you are interested in knowing more, we really highly recommend the best way to do that is just to book a call with us, and we'd be happy to jump on a conversation with you and just go straight from there.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I love it. Awesome. Christina and David, you are superstars, supernovas, igniting, illuminating, and spreading so much joy and love and awesomeness in the world. Thank you for what you do. And again, stoked to be on this journey. This is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. And
brother, I love your energy, man. I love your fire, and I really appreciate you inviting both of us on to that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You guys have the best night ever. We'll see you soon, okay?
All right, much love, brother. Peace out.